And God bless her, she's a perfectly fine actor. She was in, I know where
Girl
you were on
in
the train.
Girl in the window.
I know where you were on the train.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Boo, yeah.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hi.
We're going to have one of those basic-ass episodes today. No real topic, just ranting, and recommending, and questioning, and, you know, all that stuff. Anyway, I'm sure you guys are pissed off about something.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell!
You've never seen me very upset.
Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus!
So who wants to start off on a rant?
I gotta start. I gotta go off script. I ran into someone I hadn't seen in about 10 years at Lowe's yesterday.
Oh, shit.
And I don't want to go into the whole history. We weren't super close friends. We were briefly co-workers.
No, go into the whole history. No, go into the whole history.
You really don't need it. You don't need it. All you need to know is that yesterday at Lowe's, he hit me with the 2 for flinching.
No, what? What?
2 for flinching.
Bless
Tell
you.
me that you guys know this.
No, we know this. I think I'm just dumbstruck that that's still a thing. And that probably this person is 40. Yeah, 40-year-old doing
chuckling the way my dad used to when I would say, make me a piece of toast. And dad would zap his finger in the air and say, poof, you're a piece of toast. That's how this guy laughed after he 2 for flinching me. And I want to go back to childhood. Before I was born, whoever the fuck invented 2 for flinching as some sort of like societal cure-all excuse to punch people. Like, of course I'm going to flinch if you lunge at me. And we somehow turned flinching into like not only a lack of manliness, but a deserving of physical punching. And this game stays in people's minds into their 40s. And thank you. I see that hand, Barrett. But I just want to finish by saying 2 for flinching sucks. And I'm going to keep flinching. And if you punch me, we're never friends again. It's a stupid game. Any game where you get to excuse punching people because they didn't react right because they thought you might actually hit them? I'm going to pretend to hit you, and then if you believe me, I get to hit you for real? This is a fucked up game in every sense of it, and we need to end it. If they're still playing it today, to teach your kids this game is not cool.
I think you answered my question. I'm not familiar with this. I never did the 2
You
for
lived in a cave. Tony Stark, you basically lunge at someone, pretend to throw a basketball at them, pretend to hit them, pretend to kick them, what have you. And if they pull back, you go 2 for flinching, and you punch them twice on the arm.
License.
This dude, an acquaintance from 10 years ago, pulled this on you.
This was how he let me know he recognized me in Lowe's. Was he lunged sort of at me, and I jumped back, and he goes 2 for flinching. And he did just barely tap my arm, but the fact that he's still playing the game kind of set me off.
Oh, that's a bad game. That's a stupid
game because
why am I in a cave? I'm in a cave. I hung out with other kids. I had male friends.
I am kind of surprised you never saw this.
You didn't live in a cave, obviously. I am surprised you never heard this. I thought this was one of those universal games. I know there are regional games and regional what's-its and who's-its, and I know that there's a taboo gesture you can make now for white supremacy that used to be a game where if you showed it to people below your waist and they looked, you got to punch them for that. You've heard of that game?
I've seen that one. Yeah. That's a Boy Scout thing.
I thought all of this was universal. And yeah, the idea is the would-be puncher. It's like, we're in school. I'm not going to actually hit you. if you think I'm going to actually hit you and you recoil, then you're the idiot. And now I get to actually hit. It's like a fucking mind game. And I've always hated it. But as an adult.
Did you, is that how he opened?
Yes.
Seriously? Did you talk to him after that?
Yeah, for like 5 minutes. It was, how's the kids?
But you were thinking about that the entire 5 minutes.
I was thinking about,
though, right?
I hope I never see you again. Honestly. Who does that? It's like, you might as well punch me in the balls. Like, we're not 12.
I've learned something today.
Let's be men.
Wow.
2 for flinching can go suck it. That's all
especially if you hold on. Especially if you fucking open with that. I don't care how old you are. If you open with that, you can kiss my fucking dick. Because, yeah, of course, if some random fuck ass in the fucking Home Depot or wherever the fuck you were, lunges after you, fuck yeah, I'm gonna flinch and pull out a fucking knife. Yeah. He's lucky he didn't get fucking stabbed.
In all honesty, I was carrying a knife, and it's a bad thing all the way around. And if anybody's still doing it, aged 5 and up, you need to stop. It's just
this is certainly not the time of we're not in an era right now where that kind of thing is going to be taken lightly. He's going to do that to the wrong asshole one day,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, someone who's like Jeremy, who has a knife, but is ready to like just whip it out at a moment's notice. Like, I don't know who you are. How do I know what you're doing at this point? We're at a fucking Lowe's. I don't recognize you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in 10 years.
I would lose that fucking game every time. I've got a startle reflex, and you know what it is? It's fucking protecting me. Yeah. If somebody lunges at me, fuck you, I'm going to back off, and then I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Ow, I don't like this game at all. Mm-hmm. I'm overreacting now because I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just, but to keep it peaceful here, it's actually just, this is a childhood playground thing that you do. This is not fucking 40-year-old shit. This is not when you hit 40, you've forgotten this game at this point. There's no reason to do that at a Lowe's, especially.
It's like, I thought you were speaking German. The 2 for flinching.
There's this. I hate when I do this too often, but there's a whole episode of Friends where Monica, now in her 30s, gets a call from the high school hunk, and they go on a date. And over the course of the date, she realizes he still works at the movie theater he did in high school. He still hangs out with all the same kids he did in high school. He still lives with his parents. And he just never outgrew high school. And that's what I picture this guy as. Not that he necessarily lives with his parents. He's got a wife and kids. But it just feels like mentally that he's still playing the same playground games. He's stuck on repeat. I don't know. It's just, it was infuriating in school. But God, as an adult. And don't even think, you few listeners who might see me one day at a Sin Week or something, that you can come up to me and try this and think that I'm going to laugh about it, because I will shiv you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's right. Get shivved at Sin Week.
That's quite the marketing statement.
Yes, it is. Okay. So I have ranted about driving a lot, not nearly as much as I could have. I took a trip to Arkansas to see my nephew's graduation a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
And rented a nice SUV. Was driving my mom out there, and it's like a 5-6 hour trip. But there are just so many things that I had forgotten because I had not taken a trip this long in a couple of years, that just, I don't understand where people are coming from. And it's usually, it involves the passing lane. If you're not familiar with the passing lane in America, you have 2 lanes. One is the right lane, where if you're slow and you're not passing anybody, you stay in that lane. If you're in the left lane, you are about to imminently pass somebody. Not you're going to pass somebody in 30 seconds or you're going to pass somebody in a minute or anything like that. you are in the left lane to pass somebody at that moment. And what happens is there are about 25 to 35% of the drivers on the road today think they deserve to be in that left lane, that passing lane, because they're going to pass somebody in the next 30 seconds to a minute. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, guys, you guys are a bunch of fuck asses, to take Barrett's term. Because what you do is you start a big, long fucking line of cars behind you at that point while they wait for you to pass this one car that you're going 3 miles an hour faster than and everything. So that's what happens is all this shit happens. There's a big long line. Now, I'm a guy who, if I'm not imminently passing somebody, I'm in the right lane. I will even get into a right lane when I know I'm about to have to slow down because there's a truck in front of me or whatever, but I know that the people behind me are going faster than me. So I'm not going to make them wait while I go and pass this truck or whatever. But what happens is you get over in that right lane, and what happens? Somebody who thinks they deserve to be in that lane gets in there, and they cause this big, huge, long line, and then you can never get over because of that.
Yep.
And it causes this big cycle. The other thing that happens in this passing lane, you know how there's a car on the side of the road and they're working on their car, or they've broken down, or they need to look at a map, or whatever the fuck they're doing on the side of the road. There are too many people who are concerned for the safety of those people. And
I agree with you, but I love that wording so much. I'm fucked up. Let someone else care about it, you dicks.
And when I say this, I'm saying that they are so concerned about those people on the side of the road, they will endanger everybody else to get into the passing lane so that they won't disturb the people on the side of the road. I can't tell you how many times on this drive I was in the passing lane, passing a truck, about to pass a truck. And that's when that truck was like, oh shit, there's somebody on the side of the road. I need to get over here real quick because holy shit, what would happen if I fucking slowed down for 5 minutes and then, or 5 seconds, and then just, maybe just don't hit somebody. Maybe make sure you don't hit somebody or their car when you're going past them. I thought the whole lane was there so that you avoided the fucking side of the road, right? Yeah. You're not going to hit them unless you're just like, oh, oops. I mean, that's not going to happen. Why would you fucking get over? Why would you get over in the fucking passing lane when people like me? And that causes so many problems. First off, I have to slow down. What if there's somebody tailgating me? And I have to slow down. All of this shit just to avoid possibly. I mean, how are you a driver? How do you have a fucking license if you can't slow down a little bit and just make sure you don't hit anybody on the side of the road? I don't get that. Like, there's no reason to get all the fucking way over for that shit. I could go on and on about interstate driving, but those are the main things. That fucking passing lane. That I've seen people before. I've seen people like they're just. There was another. This is the last part of the rant. There was a guy in the right lane. There was a point where there was a guy in the right lane. I was catching up to him, and there was a guy passing me, about to pass me. This guy in the guy in front of me was behind another truck, had the whole lane to go and pass this guy, and just didn't for the longest time. And then finally he was just forced, okay, I'm going to get over and pass this guy. So I always thought, okay, this is somebody who adheres to the right lane a lot, maybe too much. He gets over in the left lane and passes, and then I get over in the left lane and pass. And then I'm like, okay, this dude's going to get over once he passes this car. Nope. He fucking stayed in the left lane, the passing lane, the rest of the way. Now, we are in a point where we're about to pass another truck. It's coming up in about 5 to 10 seconds. We're about to pass them. in my rear view, there's a truck that comes right up on my bumper, and then another truck behind him that comes right up on that guy's bumper. And I'm like, okay, we're in that limbo right now where I can't get over and everything. Now, this truck decides to get off the next exit, the one that we're passing. Now, I'm sitting there going, okay, I can ease over into the right lane and let these people pass and everything. But I get over in the right lane, and truck that's 2 cars behind is already like diagonally past, like ready to pass everybody on the right and everything like that. Fucking
Jesus Christ.
Just wait 2 seconds. Just wait. If I stay in the lane, it's fair game. But if give me a chance, give me a fucking chance to get over for you. You know, it's not like I was in this left lane for no fucking reason. We were passing that truck. Remember? I think people really only see like 5 feet in front of them a lot of times.
Yeah.
When I see the way people drive, I'm like, when you see people get over in the right lane to pass a lot of times, you do see that there's a fucking thing blocking you from driving there, right? Why are you there?
It could be a giant fucking truck, and they will not see that thing on the right-hand side. They'll think, oh, I'm a fucking Dukes of Hazzard car.
Yeah.
And I'm going to whip around this and get right back in front of. Oftentimes they actually do, to the detriment of everybody involved on the road.
Yeah. So that was a lot of the stuff that was going on that weekend. It was like, these are things that I have run into time and again over the years. This isn't the first time any of this shit's happened. It continues to happen. People don't care, and I understand. You know, we're the human race, especially fucking Americans these days, are horrible, and we're gonna keep running into this shit over and over again because there's no enforcement of this fucking passing lane shit. You're not supposed to be in this lane if you're not passing people, and you're not supposed to drive this fucking recklessly everywhere just because of certain little things that irk you. But a cop's never gonna pull somebody over for any of the shit that I just talked about. Never.
Not only that, but in Nashville, in the last 4 or 5 months, we've had half a dozen interstate shootings because of road rage. Shootings, some resulting in death because people disagreed on the road. Like, with that kind of shit going on, all of us who are capable of driving like normal people should do so and stop driving so aggressively, and maybe the people who have the guns and do the shootings will stand out more because the rest of us look normal. Scary out there.
It really is.
I tell you what, I've always been a bit of an aggressive driver, and I'm like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction. I drive real fucking fast. but I got to admit, I've slowed my roll, man, on being aggressive with people because of that shit. People literally have hair triggers these days, and I was talking to my Japanese friend back when I was working at Vanderbilt, and he was riding with me somewhere, and I think I honked the horn, which I know some people don't like, but I honked the horn. I thought it was justified. But my buddy Masa was like, whoa, like I had just, done something insane. And when we got to the restaurant or wherever we were going, he was like, wow. I was like, what was the big deal? And he was like, you honked the horn? And I was like, yeah, you don't do that in Japan? He's like, no, I do it all the time in Japan. I just don't do it in America because you motherfuckers have guns.
Seriously.
And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah. I would probably honk all the time in Japan because the worst thing you can do is yell and gesture and stuff like that. But yeah, man, keep your heads out there. Don't. Everybody's a person. Everybody's a human. Let's all get along out there.
That I don't think it's a coincidence, I'm sure it is statistically, but it doesn't feel like a coincidence that this is all coming so recently after the state decided to allow everybody to carry a gun without a license. Because even beyond the shootings, there's an increase in people flashing guns. Even in the suburbs, like road rage incidents that lead to somebody flashing a gun, even if they don't fire it. It's just like, Jesus, I just want to get some milk and some eggs.
yeah.
And get home alive.
Yeah.
As mad as I get sometimes, it ain't worth it, man.
No.
It ain't worth it to
No.
really, really get after somebody, especially where we live.
Yeah.
It's the wild fucking Southeast. Down
Yep.
here.
There was discussion that there's in the basketball playoffs, because there's been so many incidents of people getting, the players getting bottles thrown at them, like Kyrie Irving, and there's been a lot of fan incidents. There's
Somebody
been some
got spit
suggestions.
on.
Yeah, somebody got spit on. There's been suggestion that we just haven't been out enough in the last year to know what that is. But I'm like, I don't understand that either.
We're still humans, dude.
I went out. I went to a restaurant for the first time in like about 3 or 4 weeks ago for Mother's Day. That was the first time I'd been out to a restaurant since March of 2020. And then all this other stuff that's happened in the last 2 weeks is a lot of firsts since then or whatever. But there's never once did I go out and go, well, how do we do this again? How has this happened? I wouldn't go to an arena and be like, I have a water bottle in my hand. Do I throw it at Kyrie Irving? I'm not sure. I think in the past I used to, but I'm not sure, And
let's go on and give it a shot. Let's give it a shot and see what happens.
I'm mad the Predators are losing. Do I spit on the opposing player or no?
Right.
I can't remember.
Take that, Aho. And I understand that there's this idea that we're all at this breaking point and everything, but I'm sorry that it just doesn't make sense to me that people are that fucking wound up. Maybe it's just something I don't understand yet. Maybe that's something that we just, maybe we have to, I don't know what we have to do about that right now. It's fucked up.
It is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm gonna briefly talk about my boy Bruno Mars. All right. I know I've talked about Bruno Mars before.
Yeah.
And how I'm not mad at him, but I'm disappointed in him for how his creative trajectory has gone. I remain convinced that he's a generational talent, both as a musician, as a multi-able, capable musician. He plays drums, piano, guitar, all of them well. He's a terrific singer. And he can do anything he wants to. I really think so. So just recently, now I was talking about this in the last time when he released 24 Karat Magic, which I thought was, it was just like, oh, I'm going to party. I'm going to fuck my bitches. I'm going to drink. I'm going to have gold. I'm going to gamble and shit like that. And like, you know what? Homeboy was in his 20s or whatever it was. Do your thing, right? I was thinking maybe he would do something more substantive later in his career. But no, he is now grouped up with another amazing talent in Anderson .Paak to form a group called Silk Sonic. Now, what is Silk Sonic? It's about fucking, folks. It's about like getting your silk robe on and making filet mignon and drinking champagne and fucking till your balls fall off. And tell me if you've heard that before from Bruno Mars, because you've heard it every fucking album. And it's getting to the point where there's always been a commentary out there that Bruno Mars is, quote, derivative. I will not use another adjective that people have given to Bruno Mars and his music. I think whatever he does, it's his prerogative to do. But it's derivative. He does Michael Jackson. He does... he even did like a Prince Purple Rain cover at the Grammys one year after Prince died. That was obviously derivative, had no spin on it whatsoever. He does 70s R&B. He does 80s R&B. And there's some truth to that. On Orthodox Jukebox is his best album, I think. He's done, the Treasure song. You remember that Treasure song? Treasure! It's very derivative of like late 70s, early 80s. Disco-ish, R&B-ish. Yeah, and I liked it. I was defending it. I was like, you know what? He's all right. He's got some juice. now that Silk Sonic has come out, the Leave the Door Open is the main single. Have you guys heard this one?
Nope.
Chris, I'm sure you've seen the video, right?
Epic, awesome videos, yeah.
It is all over every satellite and FM station in the U.S. He's become Michelle Ndegeocello a few years ago said he's a karaoke artist. And I even took offense to it at that point. I was like, no, Bruno has his own sound and he's his own man. He's a fucking karaoke artist at this point. He's a talented one, but he's doing 70s R&B in a subgenre, what's called Quiet Storm, which really has some roots to it. And it's like seductive R&B. But you know what? That was done in the 70s, and it was done well in the 70s. And why are you doing it now? You compare him to the generational or the really, really good talents of the day, the Billie Eilishes, the Lady Gagas. Like, you could even compare him to like a discount version of Prince a generation ago. He's got that ability. If he gets with the right people. We've all heard Uptown Funk with Mark Ronson. We've all heard Locked Out of Heaven with Mark Ronson. I think he needs something like that. Those are his two best songs by far to me. And I think he needs somebody like that to make him push it just a little bit. He's not trying, and I don't think he wants to, and it's disappointing to me.
You're saying if someone's got a retro sound, they still need to figure out something that makes it stand out from that retro sound, you know, that people can listen to it and go, yeah, I can hear the hint of the 70s in this, but he's doing something with it that I like that's different. Are you saying that has to happen, or
I believe so, and that's what you got with Uptown Funk.
Is it impossible to enjoy a retro sound that's just directly thieving from another decade? Like that song that song that you're talking about comes on MTV all the time, and I like the song. I'm not going to go out and rush out and buy the album or anything, but I tend to like it. But I also understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's just that I don't know if is there a requirement for an artist to. I mean, I guess if they want to be considered the best or one of the best, they have to do something new with it, right?
I mean, sure, you can copy a sound. You can play Nirvana covers. You can play something very akin to Nirvana. They fed a bunch of a bunch of Nirvana songs, and it shitted out like a new song, a new Nirvana song, and it sounded like Nirvana. There's a one. I swear to God, it sounded exactly.
I'd say as much about Nirvana as it does about the computer's ability.
I think, but at the time, Nirvana was doing something new.
Yeah.
We see all the time. There's Silver Sun Pickups was one of these a few years ago that took a kind of 90s swingish, not swing, but like a Smashing Pumpkins type of aesthetic and put their spin on it. There's a terrific band that's actually based in Nashville called Bully, 3-piece that fucking rocks. I've seen it in Chicago, and it's very, very 90s, very fuzzy, very Dinosaur Juniors, very a little bit Nirvana, but not that. It's not that. I don't know if you guys have heard of this band, but Greta Van Fleet is a band that if you listen to it and didn't know it wasn't Led Zeppelin, you would think it was Led Zeppelin. They are doing Led Zeppelin. Now, do they have every right to do that? Absolutely. Do it. They're excellent musicians. Do your thing, baby. If you like playing Led Zeppelin songs that aren't Led Zeppelin songs, do your thing. But, like, it has been done before.
We're a Led Zeppelin cover band that plays no Led Zeppelin songs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You would think, like, oh, that's Robert Plant. I mean, the guy sounds exactly like Robert Plant. Okay, fine. Do your thing. But, like, if you don't put a twist on it, man, you're just repeating. You're a fucking karaoke artist. And I hate it because I know Bruno's got some funk in his jollies. in there, in his blood, in his veins, in his plums.
Yes.
but it's not coming out, man. And he's under no obligation to do it, obviously. But I remain, just kind of thinking that we missed an opportunity for this guy to really push some boundaries. And I thought he was going to get there, but he ain't going to get there. He's comfy doing this thing.
I mean, there is perspective to keep in mind. I think if you got to know him, I don't know him. I don't know why I said if you got to know him, because I don't know him. I think it's possible this is music he loves. This is music he grew up listening to, and he enjoys doing 70s, I guess, pop type stuff. He doesn't want to stretch, maybe. I don't know.
I think that's what it is. I guess he's made $1 billion. Why would he do anything different? I compare it to Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga wants to go do an album of standards with Tony Bennett. She can do that, right? And do it well. That album fucking rules. But she's also always pushing boundaries, whether I like the song or not, or what she's doing.
We can make an argument.
She's trying something new.
Some of her early stuff is very Madonna-esque, and I wouldn't be the first one to make that argument. But she has grown beyond that, I think, is the difference. Yeah, I don't know. He's incredibly talented.
He is.
I like 3 or 4 of his songs a great deal, but I see what you're saying in terms of he seems to kind of be sitting in this one lane, and it's the fast lane, Chris, and he doesn't know that he needs to get over so that the musicians who want to innovate behind him can go faster. You say like how I tied those 2 rants together?
That's amazing. He is such a dick for doing that.
I mean, the last comparison I'll make, apples to oranges, is we were talking fairly recently about George Clooney in his later career, right? It feels like we missed out on the last prime years of Clooney because he didn't need to, right? He was satisfied he could do whatever he wanted to. That's way earlier in Bruno Mars's career, but like I feel like he's gonna do whatever he wants to and not challenge anything. And God bless him. Do what you want. Live your best life. I just wanted a little more, and that's it.
Well, especially with those two, like you're saying, if you're gonna team up with Anderson .Paak, and I mean this rant could go on about Anderson .Paak too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and I think him doing this to me is different because I bet you his next album will be like a Daft Punk-esque record or something like that. You know what I mean? Because he's probably just taking a break and being like, oh yeah, man, I like this vibe, and doing it and moving on. I think Bruno is in this undercurrent and just sliding. He's like in one of those lazy rivers that they have around fucking water parks.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any recommends and warns?
Totes amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Ooh. What do you think?
I will go.
All right.
I will go. This started as a record warn, and as I continued watching, it turned into a warn-amend. And then as I gave up, it turned into a warn. This is a relatively new Netflix film, sci-fi, called Stowaway. Starring...
I've been warned not to watch this movie.
Oh, my God. Starring Anna Kendrick, friend of the show. Also Toni Collette, Daniel Day Kim from Lost. Is that right? And it has a pretty cool premise. A 3-person mission to Mars. One of those don't talk much about it, but important for humanity missions. And on their way there, they discover an accidental stowaway. And this immediately complicates the oxygen situation on the ship. And it's pretty quickly concluded that all 4 of them will asphyxiate before they get to Mars because there's only enough air for 3 of them. Now, perhaps it was the mood I was in. Sometimes you just want a movie to be something it's not, and maybe that's what happened here. I really wish the movie would have leaned hard into that, but it keeps finding ways to dance around that issue and deflect it and try and be a sci-fi thriller. Whereas if it had leaned harder into this moral conundrum, like what I wanted to see, granted, I'm not making the movie. Mystery Guitar Man is Joe Penna, the guy that made the Mads Mikkelsen Arctic.
Yeah, whatever. It's
one of those.
one of those cold movies.
And he wanted to do other stuff with it. I wanted them to go, sorry, dude, accidental stowaway. You work for NASA. I'm sure you signed something. You got to go. And then boot him off the ship. And then stumble into some way to find more oxygen and realize that you killed somebody you didn't have to. I think that would have been an interesting psychological twist. Instead, they just they're like, okay, let's use this newfangled Star Trek babble stuff to scrub the air of CO2. Okay, that buys us a couple of days. Now that's done. Okay, well, let's take the algae experiment we're going to do on Mars and do it here to spread more oxygen into the air. Oh, okay, well, half the algae died and we still only have air for 3 people. It just keep extending the deadline in ways that aren't exciting or thrilling. And the movie's biggest problem is it's boring.
That's not good.
It opens literally on a launch, and for like half a second, there's like a fuel warning, and they think they might have to abort, and then no, they don't, and then they go up, and there's like a 10-minute sequence of them docking, and somebody throws up, and I'm like, where are the fucking stakes? What's happening? Who are you? Where are you going? I don't know any of this, and it just tries to be, I think, too many things at once. There are some shots where I just feel like the cinematographer or the director is just like, look at how cool this shot is. It's symmetrical, right? Like the right side and the left side are the same. You see? And I was just, Anna Kendrick, I feel like she got prequel Natalie Portman in this movie. Like she got George Lucas. She's a fine actress who's super charming and somehow stripped of all of her charm. Toni Collette as an actress of great depth, and she's turned into largely a barking orders commander. Daniel Day Kim was awesome on Lost, and he's turned into some sort of nebbish, nerdy scientist who doesn't show much. I was so disappointed in every decision they made that I literally went from Warn all the way to Warn. And the end is just preposterous.
Did you make it to the end?
I made it to the end. I gave up before the credits rolled, but I'm quite certain it was the final shot or next to final shot, and it's not earned at all. And it's just,
they didn't even make it pay off at the end, even for all the boring stuff. Because I want to see how it turns out, and I'm sure that's what kept you around, right?
I'll tell you how it turns out if you want to save the time. It's just,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to spoil it for the listeners. But I'm warned. I think it's glossy. It's pretty.
But it's not a passenger's level Recca Warren or anything like that.
Even Ad Astra or Passengers, first time I saw them were much more interesting and riveting and took unique turns. And this is just, it's like you wait like 25 minutes just going, what is even happening? What is this movie about? And then they find the stowaway, and you're like, oh, maybe you waited this long because you have a Twilight Zone episode and you stretched it into an entire movie. And if it had been a 30-minute short, I think it could have been really fascinating. But yeah, even that fucking Life movie with Gyllenhaal, and that's no good. It's just all of those have more spunk and charisma than this thing. It's just sleepy. I'm sorry.
All right. That's all right.
Yeah.
What do you think, man?
Yeah.
What do you think? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it again. Although, it could easily be sinned. I have, actually here, I wrote notes. I meant to read you these notes.
Wrote notes.
I wrote
I
notes.
hate this movie so much, I'm going to write notes about it.
All right, so here are my notes. Stowaway. She has her helmet on the entire launch. They all do. If you can have the face shield open, why wear the helmet at all? When they think they might abort, she orders the face shields down. What? And then I wrote, there's a whole scene where she carries a space helmet through the entire ship. It's like a one-shot. And then at the end, she screws it onto a spacesuit. And I'm like, why was it all the way on the other side of the ship to begin with? Why did you not store it with the space suit? A lot of showy camera work that doesn't improve things. There's a triple focus shot on 3 characters. So you know how they do that pull focus thing where somebody's in the background and somebody's right next to the camera and you can see both of them clearly? They do a triple version of that with somebody in the middle, and it's for a 2-second shot of like expositional dialogue. They completely waste the setup. All right, if this had lesser actors and a smaller budget, I might be raving about it. It's that kind of movie. So there you go. I actually have more notes, but I sensed that the room was souring on the note reading, so I ended early.
Yeah, I was actually warned about this movie just a few days ago, actually. So
wow,
like, it's becoming like Midnight Sky was, where like everybody's coming watching that movie and going, "Fuck this movie!" all at once, a collective "fuck this movie." I'm going to straight up warn and possibly spoil the entire thing. Movie. I talk about this sort of gathering that I have with a few friends from the theater once a month, where somebody picks 2 movies we watch and discuss. Every once in a while, we'll go to some place like the Belcourt and watch a movie. And that will be we did The Irishman that way. I think we did some other movie. There was this was going to be our first like gathering since, pandemic and everything. Everybody's vaxxed, and let's go watch a movie together. So whoever's turn it was to picked a movie at Belcourt called New Order, which, yes, there's a band called New Order that broke off of Joy Division a long time ago. But this movie is set in Mexico, and it follows. We're at a wedding, and it's a bunch of wealthy people. Somebody comes into the wedding who worked with them many years ago, and says, my wife is in the hospital and I don't have the money for the surgeries and everything. And I was wondering if you could help out. And these wealthy people who could probably easily give this guy the money don't. They give him some money, but not a lot of money. And it sort of sets up the fact that there is a tremendous gap, because there are poor people and rich people. And it seems like the poor people have finally had it. Because on the outskirts of all this wedding stuff there's rioting going on. There's people. There's something involving green liquid, which I don't think I ever got explained. In all of this, people throwing green liquid at people and everything. The guy asking for help leaves. And one person at the wedding, one of our main characters, decides, okay, I was going to give him the money. I'm going to go chase him down and give him the rest of the money. So she gets in a car with somebody, I can't remember who it is, somebody related to the guy who came in or whatever. They go out onto the streets and they're driving around, and there's cops everywhere, cops barricading everything. They can't get to an interstate, blah, blah, blah. They have to find a back way. Meanwhile, back at the wedding, there's a whole bunch of people who have infiltrated the wedding, and they're just killing everybody at the wedding. And it starts off where you're like, oh, this could be really fucking interesting. This movie, I don't know if nihilist is the best way to describe it.
Nihilist, dude. Fuck.
Yeah. That is a setup where you're like, oh, our main gal got out of the wedding before all this massacre happened. Good for her. She's going to be able to do something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Where there's going to be a happy ending and everything. She goes to meet the guy and to give him the money, and the cops come in and they say, the cops run into her and they say, we'll take you back home. And she doesn't know what's happened yet and everything. So she's driving in this, she's in this, like big, whatever, one of these big, huge, wagons or whatever. And the cops tell her that, basically let her know that she's not going home. They're going to take her into prison because they're corrupt cops, and they know that she's wealthy, and then they know they can get money from her and everything. So they put her in prison, and she's in prison for no reason at all. And it looks like the cops are just basically trying to ransom off as many wealthy people as they can, get all this money. And there's a horrific rape scene in this movie. It's just fucking awful. And you're just like, okay, all of this ordeal and everything. There's a few people still left alive from this wedding party who are trying to figure out where she is and if they can save her. They get the ransom call, and there's a point where her brother is talking to their father, and he says something like, is this something I should get Victor on? We don't know who Victor is. Victor sounds like somebody who's a badass. And you're like, oh man, Victor's going to come in and he's going to kick some fucking ass later on in this movie. And the father's like, no, don't bring Victor in on this. They get their maid and somebody else to do the handoff, the money. They go to this prison. They hand off whatever it was, 800,000 pesos. I don't know what that translates into American dollars or whatever, but it's a bunch of money. And then they say, well, that's good for now, but we'll take $1 million tomorrow. So they just keep on adding to the thing. Meanwhile, the main gal in this is just, this is a prison movie. They don't linger too much on a lot of the bad stuff, but you can assume that every day is a fucking torture trial for her.
Jeez.
Finally she is allowed out, and the cops are going to take her home. I'm like I said, I'm spoiling the fuck out of this movie because it's a 1.5 for me. They take her back to this place, and we're like, okay, she's finally out of this ordeal. And they take her to this place, and instantly she gets shot in the head.
Oh my. Okay.
And then the two people who were paying the ransom for the wealthy family and everything, they get shot too, to make it look like they had kidnapped her and that they were the ones doing all the ransoming and all that. Oh. And so then it goes back to this dude, and he's like, he keeps talking about Victor, and you're like, hell yeah, Victor's going to come in on this. Victor, I tell you, man, Victor is going to come in and he is going to fucking mop up the floor with all these people who've been such dicks the whole movie. We cut to, the maid isn't dead yet. She goes, they show her getting punished because there has to be some sort of fall guy and all that. So she's in a square of some sort where she's getting hanged with two other people. They let the whatever, the gallows drop or whatever. She gets hanged, and you're like, okay, fucking Victor is coming in. Roll credits.
Oh no, Victor!
No.
Victor!
Wow.
Is the sequel going to have Victor?
Yeah, the sequel is going to be a completely different movie, man.
That sounds like a fucked up movie.
It is fucked up. There's no hope in this movie, and I know that's the point. Nobody comes off good in this movie. It's the cops are corrupt. The wealthy are horrible people. The people who are writing are horrible people. There's just there's no good in all of this. And I understand that's what they're going for. And and it's one of those movies where you're expecting a happy ending to come out of this. Fuck you. There's no happy endings in life.
Oh no.
Jesus.
Oh.
And it was just one of those movies, like afterwards we were all outside talking about this movie going, I don't know about what I just saw. That was kind of fucked up. Yeah. I mean, I didn't see, and this is one of those movies I didn't see a trailer, didn't read anything about it or anything. And
was there a theme for this pick? Like you guys typically have like some sort of like how these two movies that I recommend are related or whatever.
Right. No, there was no theme. This was just a movie that was out at Belcourt, and then we just decided to go to watch it. And normally there would be a second movie along with this. Our Belcourt trips typically don't have a second movie, though. It's just just the movie. And I think this was picked because it looked interesting. And sure enough, at the beginning, you're going to be riveted. You're going to be like, holy shit, look at all this stuff that's going down, man. This is some serious shit.
Look at the green liquid.
Look at that green liquid.
That's gonna come into play.
Yeah, you bottle it just right. I would drink that green liquid. But like it's headed towards, it's like, you know how The Departed is, where like it seems like, here's this guy, he gets shot. Oh, here's this guy, he gets shot.
Yeah.
You know,
I was thinking that same thing when you were saying that when she comes in, just gets shot in the head. Like there are no heroes in The Departed. Like everybody's scum. Besides maybe Queenan.
Yeah.
And he's still scum.
As an aside, that I remember watching The Departed and just like hearing people laugh, especially when Mark Wahlberg kills Matt Damon at the end, because it's just, we've just seen like 6 or 7 people who were main characters just fucking drop like flies.
Headshots. Yeah, man.
You know, so anyway, New Order, not, I mean, that is, I needed something a little bit more uplifting. I'm sorry. Maybe if I was in a better mood, that's the kind of movie I'd be all about. You know, yeah, man, there are no happy endings. Everybody's fucked. But you know, I'm going to warn it. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about Mubi.
Yes, Mubi.
You know, but I got a recommendation from our buddy Patrick over at Modern Horrors, and like he said, there's a movie called Sun Don't Shine on Mubi right now. And so I watched it, and it's a very unusual independent film where there's this woman played by Caitlin Scheel. You've seen her in You're Next. And her boyfriend, or who we don't really know the relationship right off the bat, but we assume boyfriend, played by Kentucker Audley. And the movie goes like right into it. There's no opening credits or like establishing shots or anything like that. They're fighting at the very beginning of this, and they're out by a car. We don't know what their situation is. We know that she's done something and he's helping her out, but we don't know what it is right off the bat. And there's sort of revelations as they drive along. They're trying to find this place in the Everglades. And of course, this is a very Florida movie. I feel like Florida has just gotten to the point where you just expect, if you were to drive to Florida, you expect to see this shit going on the side of the road. You know, that type of, it's got that kind of reputation now. But as this goes along, I don't know if I really want to say what she's done, but they're trying to get to the Everglades to have an alibi. Basically, he has called somebody he knows down in this area so that they can have an alibi. And meanwhile, it's just them. It's them conversing back and forth. She is very impulsive, and like, you know, if she wants something, she goes right after it. And if he says, "Please don't do this," she keeps going on and on. She's got it very frustrating that way. You know, if he tells her to do one thing, it's very clear she's not going to do that thing no matter what. And so it goes along until it gets to, I mean, again, I can't spoil anything about this movie or anything, but until it gets to its end. What are they? Are they going to get away with whatever just happened? Are they not? It's just got some really good performances in it. And it was directed by Amy Seimetz, who's also in You're Next. She's an actress. She's mainly an actress, but she has directed quite a few things too. But it's a very interesting movie that's on Mubi right now. And just thank Patrick for that recommendation.
Yeah. Usually, I mean, he knows how to recommend. His personal taste is whack, though. I hope you're listening, Patrick.
But yeah, Sun Don't Shine. It's a very Barrett. You were about to ask how would you classify this movie? It's like a crime romance.
Oh, okay.
Kind of movie.
Crime.
We know I guess like True Romance is kind of like that.
Oh yeah.
There's a crime at the center of it, and there's a relationship. And it's a very uncertain relationship. We don't know exactly what's been going on. And this is an onion that just keeps getting peeled away as the movie goes along. We find out what she did. We find out what the relationship is. We find out all these different things. And it's just one of those movies where you're like, God, this character is fucking frustrating, man, because there's nothing like nothing can stop her. She doesn't have any kind of like impulse control whatsoever. And so when she wants to do something, she usually gets to do that thing, or if she's told not to do it, she ends up finding a way to do it. So
it sounds like a couple of my cats, like zero impulse control.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like that, actually. Yeah.
I love these times where we get to talk about movie, because we don't talk about films like that very often. There's a lot of stuff on there right now that I have seen, but I haven't seen in forever, and probably wouldn't be prompted to see again if it weren't for movie. Tucker, A Man and His Dream. 1988 movie that was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. This is before Godfather 3. I think it's the one right before Godfather 3, actually. That came out.
Sounds right, actually. Yeah.
But this is a very interesting movie about a guy that made a objectively delightful automobile back in the day, but it was way too expensive. He didn't really know what he was doing, and he was trying to take on the big three of Ford, GMC, and Chrysler at the time. That's on there. You want to be scared out of your pants? Watch the original Ringu, people. People always say that Korean horror and Japanese horror are much more effective than American horror, and those people are correct. Ringu will absolutely terrify you. It is what became The Ring in America. And while The Ring is a good movie, I'm not saying it's not. Ringu is vastly superior on all levels, in my opinion. I really love that movie.
Especially because they kind of, the first Rings essentially copies the first scene of Ringu.
Yeah.
And I watched The Ring first. I didn't know it was a remake when I first watched The Ring. Then I watched Ringu, and I was in that scene where like they open the closet door. It was terrifying in the American Ring, but in the Japanese Ring, it's fucking believable how scary it is.
I would have put that whatever it is wax figure in the corner of my office and just see what happens.
Yeah. Oh my God, no kidding.
But I want to talk to you real quick about a movie that I had seen little scenes of it, but I never like pulled the trigger on it. It's directed, speaking of directors, by Steve Buscemi, called Trees Lounge. Have you guys ever seen this?
Yes,
I did long ago.
Okay,
long ago.
This branches off into a lot of different things. This is written and directed by Steve Buscemi, starring Steve Buscemi, and it's got a murderer's row of a cast. It's got Chloe Sevigny in a nice part. It's got Anthony LaPaglia in there. It's got Elizabeth Bracco, who you will recognize from The Sopranos and a few other things, but she's also the sister of Lorraine Bracco, who obviously is prominently featured in The Sopranos. Samuel L. Jackson, Seymour Cassell, Debbie Mazar, Mimi Rogers plays Chloe Sevigny's mother, and Mark Boone Jr. If you've ever seen Sons of Anarchy, you will recognize this guy. Kevin Corrigan. This is an absolutely wonderfully cast mid-90s film. And what's interesting about this, it's a very family-oriented, neighborhood-oriented, Long Island type of movie that has a nice character arc. I mean, the whole story is fantastic. And just watch it for yourself. It'd be fantastic. But from what I understand, this actually very much influenced David Chase and the formation of The Sopranos. And in kind of the interactions, the type of characters, and you can see the imprint all over it. Oh, Michael Imperioli is in this, by the way, too.
Huh.
And you can see how much David Chase liked it because he invited Steve Buscemi to direct one of the greatest episodes of The Sopranos, the Pine Barrens episode. So if you like The Sopranos, if you like that sort of interesting New York-ish, New Jersey-ish type of story, this is right up your alley. It is a
Doesn't
fantastic
Buscemi even have
film.
a role in The Sopranos at one point?
Yeah, he plays like Tony's cousin or something like that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
All right, I just want to make sure I
definitely
wasn't going crazy there.
Yeah. So all these are connected. Trees Lounge is the name of a bar that kind of is the inciting place for everything to happen. Daniel Baldwin, by the way, is in this too, and he's had his issues, and I don't want to minimize that, but he is awesome in this film. I think you guys would love to watch this again. Would very much enjoy it if you gave it a shot, and it's on Mubi. Listen,
Yeah.
we just rattled off Ringu, Tucker, the Trees Lounge. What was yours, Chris? Sun Don't Shine?
Sun Don't Shine.
Sun Don't Shine. And that's just off the top of our heads, folks. All right? There's a million things in here that you can dive into. If you haven't done this already, people, sign up. Go to mubi.com/cinemasins. You're going to get a month free. I'm telling you, people. What else do I have to do? Do you want my blood? What do you want? Money? You want money from me? Go to mubi.com/cinemasins. It's free for 30 days. Bask
That's a lot.
in the gloriousness that is cinematic
That's a lot.
curated goodness. Mubi.com/cinemasins. Get off your sack and do it now. You know, people be Debbie Downers and stuff like that. I'm going to bring some joy into this session. So I'm going to bring levity and happiness and joy and frivolity to the proceedings and fully recommend a wholly unnecessary remake, 2016's The Magnificent Seven.
Oh.
Do you guys remember this coming out?
I do.
I
saw it.
remember it's got not Jennifer Lawrence in it.
Yes, it
Dude,
does.
she looks so much like Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes, she does.
It's Haley Bennett. And God bless her, she's a perfectly fine actress. She was in, I know, Where
Girl
You Were
in
on the Train.
Window. Girl in the Window.
I know where you were on the train.
You were on
the
the third car back, window side.
And she was fine in that. She was the one that got killed, right?
I think so, yeah. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. She was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
woman in the
she was.
window, and the other one
Emily
was the woman
Blunt
on the train.
Was the one on
Yeah.
the train, yeah.
Yeah.
But she is wonderful in this. I tell you what, like I said, the original Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen and Charles Bronson and all the wonderful people at the time. I think it was 1960. I think it was 1960 that the original. Well, I say the American original came out. It was based on The Seven Samurai, which is a Kurosawa film.
Right. It was the Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen was 1960.
That one's excellent. You should totally watch that.
Totes.
But if you're looking for a Western in which Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt and Ethan Hawke and Vincent D'Onofrio and Byung-Hun Lee and a few other actors that you'd recognize kind of kick ass and old school take over a town, take on an oil baron, three amigos that shit and get mobilized the town and save the bell tower and shit like that. This is delightful. This movie is too much fun. It is, talk about a derivative. I mean, this is a copy of a copy, but it's so good. It's so much fun. Antoine Fuqua, actually, Fuqua. He directed this, so it's nice to see him, Ethan Hawke, and Denzel back together after Training Day. And it ain't. I miss reinterpretations of Westerns in modern day. There's a reason that I loved 3:10 to Yuma. There's a reason that, and I mean, Unforgiven is now not really a modern Western. It's so fucking old. Mm-hmm. But like, there's a reason I love Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Like, I am good with setting these things in the American West. There used to be so many of these Westerns coming out, including the Magnificent Seven in the 60s, the original American version. And now we get one, mass marketed one, maybe once every 3 to 5 years, I think. There are a few upcoming, but sign me up for this stuff, man. I am a sucker for it, especially when it's in the hands of a good director, a cast that's having clearly fun. Now, Chris Pratt, I think he's a good actor. I think he's funny. Here, he's really kind of at the top of his game because he's playing a humorous guy that cracks wise, but he's also like that Doc Holliday type of gunslinger dude. And I like that. He plays it off perfectly. It's really, really good. I would totally recommend this. Peter Sarsgaard plays the villain. We all know how well Peter Sarsgaard plays a villain from Green Lantern alone. Like, he really showed his chops. Haley Bennett. Luke Grimes, who you'll recognize, is Haley Bennett's buddy. Matt Bomer from Book of Mormon originally plays her husband, hilariously. Plays her husband. So there's a lot of good people in there. You can tell everybody's having fun. They get to ride horses, shoot guns.
They get to ride horses.
Man,
that was on the poster for Bad Girls.
Is Denzel?
They get to ride horses. They're women.
Yeah, we actually sent this movie, and that was the only time I had watched it. And I remember enjoying it, but you have your sin hat on, and you're like, well, here's what's going on here.
Ride horses.
But just watching it for pleasure, I found it a lot of fun. Did you guys enjoy it? You said you'd seen it, right?
I haven't seen it.
I remember liking this. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. You have it in your head about, and I've seen the Seven Samurai. I don't know if I've seen the original Magnificent Seven, actually.
Oh, really? Mine's the opposite.
Yeah, I've seen Seven Samurai, and it's good, and it's it's as every bit the classic. So yeah, I watched this, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I like all these actors and everything. So it's yeah. I don't remember much else about it. I can't remember. I think I was on the Sins video on this. But
it was actually me and a previous writer, but you were the approval. Okay. I actually remembered that too. But why this is it is a recommend, and really there is no warn. But what I would love to do is have this cast together, have this directed together, and make a new Western. It ain't that hard, people. Rio Bravo is basically the same movie as The Searchers and The Magnificent Seven. Well, actually, I should say Rio Bravo is basically this story, right? It's a bunch of an outmanned group that is going up against, a posse with cannons and Gatling guns and stuff like that, and shenanigans ensue. Just come up with something new and do that. You don't have to remake The Magnificent Seven, for fuck's sake.
It's not long before we remake Unforgiven, right? There's going to be somebody wanting to remake Unforgiven.
Shit, yeah, man. It's probably going to be Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. And yeah, he'll still be the main guy in it too. Like,
isn't he? He's 91
He won't
today,
make-
isn't he? Or yesterday?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday, it was like yesterday or today.
Yeah.
He's old. Simmons is old.
Yeah. So on this go around, Jeremy warned Stowaway,
Mhm.
and I warned a movie called New Order
Mhm.
from Mexico. Currently playing in one of my local theaters. I don't know if it's out in various cities or whatever, but I saw it in theaters. And Barrett recommended the 2016 Magnificent Seven.
Mhm.
All right, so we want to do some questions.
I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
Yeah. Shit, yeah. All right, this one comes to us from Barrett S. in Nashville, Tennessee.
Intriguing.
About this one.
Friend of the show.
Intriguing.
Friend of the show. What do we think about the viability of movie theaters now and in the future? Okay. Hey, guys, I'm going to come clean. This was my question. Okay.
What?
I know. Hey.
What?
I know. It was very cleverly cloaked. I am fascinated by this because I remember we had so many conversations at the beginning of this pandemic, both amongst ourselves and with Aaron Dicer, who's a a movie critic, and with our colleague Jonathan. And you guys pretty uniformly, I believe, said that it was going to fundamentally change movie theaters. I may be remembering that wrong. And I was a little shocked by that because, of course, that was the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't know how long this was going to last. We didn't know what restrictions they were going to put in. We didn't know how we were going to adapt, that kind of thing. Now that it seems as though, are all of the theaters in our area open at some capacity?
I don't
I think
think so.
so.
Okay, but
All of them?
Oh, maybe not. I thought they
but
were.
most of them,
Let
would
me-
you
let me-
say?
Let me take a look at the ticket thing, because the last time when I went to go see Spiral, like Hollywood 27 wasn't open. Maybe they opened them up too. Yeah, I guess they've opened them up too.
Okay.
All right.
So at this point, we are crawling out of this both societally and cinematically. You mentioned you saw one. I'm jealous that you get to go to the Bell Court. I love the Bell Court. I have not personally been to a movie theater since this is done because my son is getting his second vaccine dose in a couple of days. What do you guys think? You guys are obviously much more of an expert on this than I am. I was curious to get your thoughts.
All right. So while this pandemic was going on, I didn't know how theater chains like Regal, Carmike, AMC, although there may not be a Carmike anymore, just the big theater chains were going to stay afloat while they had absolutely no business whatsoever. I mean, they might have been able to get some PPP loans, and they've been able to stay afloat over this time so that they can get back in business and everything. I was almost certain that we'd have an Amazon or an Apple or somebody like that coming in and buying some of these chains. Even so, no matter who owned the theaters, my thought was that there would still be theaters. There just wouldn't be as many of them. But having now seen A Quiet Place in a theater that was nearly capacity.
Oh, really?
On Sunday night, and Quiet Place 2 made $48 million domestic.
Just over that
over
weekend,
the
right?
week.
Wow.
Just over the weekend, and that's not including like Memorial Day's like amount. They may have actually hit the 60 million mark at this point. There's no other way to put it than to say they're not going anywhere at this point. Like, these chains are here to stay now. If they've been able to stay in business or like stay afloat during the pandemic, and now we're coming back to $48 million openings, and you saw overseas F9 made like $1 billion or something
Roughly
when it came out. And it's still got what 2 or 3 weeks before it comes out here. F9's going to smash. So is Black Widow when it comes out.
So those are, sorry, don't want to interrupt you, but we had always talked about there's going to be that one movie that's timed perfectly, right? That's going to be the first one to get everybody in, excited, safe, and everything. It looks like Quiet Place 2 may be that, but certainly Fast 9 is going to be the follow-up to it.
Quiet Place 2 was supposed to come out in April of 2020. It would have done fine then. It would have made probably roughly the amount it made this weekend.
Yeah.
But now we're running into, we'll see what The Conjuring 3 does this weekend. We'll see what Black Widow does. There's a lot of like little other ones that are sneaky ones that are showing up on the schedule. F9, man, is going to be, that movie is going to kill. There's no doubt about it. That, like, as much of fatigue as people may have had with the Fast and Furious movies, F9 is going to be the one. I think that's going to be our first 100 million domestic opening.
Jeez.
Black Widow may even have a chance, but I think Black Widow's, I don't know. I can't really feel the excitement factor for that movie. F9, I'm feeling it for that, even though it looks very stupid and ridiculous like always. F9's going to fucking kill. I really do think that either one of those movies are going to hit 100 million domestic, and we're going to be like, what pandemic here in the United States?
Well, I agree completely in terms of like people going to the movies and theaters still being a way to make money for studios. What I think we still have to wait on is a couple things, how all the money shakes out, right? Because there's a headline this morning about Alamo Drafthouse has come out of its bankruptcy filing, and they're going to close a bunch of theaters, but also open a couple new ones in this next year or two. They still filed for bankruptcy. That money doesn't disappear. It just gets restructured and shifted so that you can pay that debt down with future gains. I just think, and then we have, I think, some other interesting stuff with regard to ownership, because we just had Amazon buy a fucking movie studio with MGM, which I think could change things. And then we also have next year in 2022, we have two really weird exclusive things where Regal is going to have a 45-day window on Warner Brothers film before other theaters get them. But Cinemark and AMC theaters are going to have a similar 3-weekend window for Universal and Focus Pictures films. So we're already going to have a different market in the sense that if you want to see a Warner Brothers film opening weekend, you have to go to Regal. And if you don't live in a place where there's a Regal, you're shit out of luck. And then I also think we have to wait to see, and I think it's going to lean in favor of theaters, but I think we have to wait and see how all this day and date Warner Brothers direct to streaming and Disney Plus selling their movies for $20 and HBO Max doing the Snyder shit. I think all of that streaming data is going to impact future decisions in terms of release and distribution. There will be some smaller production outfits that are like, we can make as much money or more streaming as we did when we went to theaters. So I don't know. I think things will eventually change, but I think Chris is absolutely right that the demand is still there and hasn't gone anywhere, and the money is still there to be made. But I do think the industry is going to see changes that we'll have to wait 3 or 4 years or more to really see how they're
to catch up to figure out what actually the effect is.
The thing that for me, Godzilla versus Kong came out before most people were vaccinated, and it had 2 weekends in a row of $30 million business here in North America. And it was being streamed on HBO Max at the same time. I don't know if, whoever Warner Brothers or whoever the fuck owns Warner Brothers these days. I don't know if they're they're going to just keep doing that. Like they may decide, all right, well, we'll just come out with stuff in theaters, and then we'll come out with it on HBO Max later or whatever. But apparently the streaming's not keeping people from going to the theaters either.
That's a crazy thing. As I was thinking about this, I really want to see, I can't wait to see In the Heights. All right, that's one of the most anticipated movies of the year for me. I would love to see it in a theater, but that shit's going to be on my TV with the service I already have when it opens. And I'm going to be hard-pressed to get myself into a theater when I could really just jam out in my underwear in there. But do you think that's going to affect it long-term? That's just me. You know what I mean?
Not when you see Godzilla versus Kong making the money it's making.
Yeah.
Now, The Conjuring, I may very well end up watching that at home because I would rather not deal with people at all when it comes to theaters. Just because, I mean, Quiet Place 2, the thing about both Quiet Places is that the movies make you shut up. Yeah. Like that's what's so great about it. But when I go to see The Conjuring, that's not going to happen. No. There's going to be people all,
You're screwed.
And so I may end up watching The Conjuring like on HBO Max when it comes out. But going back to what, I don't know if Jeremy knows the answer to this. Maybe it didn't say, but I find it odd that Warner Brothers would decide strictly Regal. But if you're in a city that has 0 Regals, you can't watch the movie. Like it seems like they'd have a deal with certain cities, kind of like the miles rule that we used to deal with, which is no longer anymore, by the way. I don't believe that's a thing that exists anymore. Is the
mileage
with. Yeah, there may still be something being implemented there, but I'm wondering if you live in I don't know where Regal didn't make it, but let's say it's Wichita or something, what if Wichita has all AMCs and you're saying that you're going to force everybody in Wichita to go to Omaha to watch the movie?
Here's the deal. The only caveat I know of is that Regal is owned by Cineworld, a global corporation, and the deal was made with Cineworld. So all the language in the article after that, though, says Regal will get the exclusive for. I think that's why I brought it up, is that may want to be. If you're in Wichita, you may not get to see the next Batman movie until a month after the rest of the world has seen it. That's disruptive to what the theater industry looks like before the pandemic.
You have to be like,
you may be right. Maybe they'll go third party or something. I don't know. But as written in this Reuters article I'm reading, it seems like Wichita's fucked.
Okay, you're gonna, and here we are. We don't even know Wichita would be involved, but like it sounds almost like you'd have to be like in the old days, like the 70s or the 80s or whatever, like Judah Friedlander in American Splendor, where he's like, I'm going to make a drive to Cleveland tonight to watch Revenge of the Nerds. Because I don't think it was Cleveland. I think they lived in Cleveland. So they did somewhere. He had to drive somewhere really far to watch Revenge of the Nerds. and that's something that people used to have to do back in the day when you lived, like when I lived in Franklin. If you wanted to find a movie that was, we didn't have any theaters. So if you wanted to watch something that was like big or whatever, you had to drive to Nashville, or, maybe if you wanted to watch something that was a little risque or whatever, a little independent or whatever, you had to drive to Atlanta or something for it. That's a weird thing. I don't know how long they can keep that going. I mean, we have seen in the past movies not going to certain chains, and what happened with that, like Rush Hour 2. Yeah. Regal refused to pay the money, or refused to share whatever percentage of the box office they wanted on Rush Hour 2. And it ended up going to all Carmike theaters and everything, and around the other parts of the country, anywhere that wasn't Regal. That movie still made like what, 68 million on its opening weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as long as Warner Brothers doesn't hurt from that decision, people are still finding the movie somehow, then
Yeah.
that's good. But I guarantee you, if they come out with something huge and they see, some like $17 million opening, they're gonna cut out of that deal as soon as they can.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Warner's has made two really interesting decisions. One is the Regal thing, and the other is the HBO Max thing. And I know some of the ones like, Godzilla v. Kong, Mortal Kombat, a few others, the Angelina Jolie one came out. I don't know how many other huge ones they have coming out this year, but they're essentially locked in. And The Heights is one of these too. They're essentially locked in, right?
Yeah.
They got Warner Brothers got that Matrix 4 coming out. And
that's right.
They've got, they had a pretty good slate for this year. Again,
Matrix 4 is one I'll see in the theater.
What Jeremy's talking about there with like Alamo Drafthouse and all that. I mean, that will be interesting to see over the next year or two. All these little differences that we're not used to. How will that affect our viewing in the future? Because right now it's like, all right, let's make sure everybody gets in the theaters and gets comfortable in the theaters again. And we're seeing, big releases. What happens when you start limiting things and you start, that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, there's still the possibility that there'll always be theaters. They're not going out of style ever.
I agree.
It's just like radio. Radio is still around, even though it's one of our most primitive entertainment devices. We still have radio. Theaters are still always going to be around. There just may be fewer of them.
All right. So there's optimism that things are getting at least a little bit back to normal, but we have to see if it's going to fundamentally change over time.
Yeah.
You want to go on to non-Barrett question?
Sure.
Okay. What is your favorite instance of an actor playing completely different characters in movies released in the same year? This person would say Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet and Hoosiers, which were both 1987? Six.
And once again, our question asker has taken one of the best fucking answers, and probably one that I would have picked had it not been there. But I went with Holly Hunter in 1993, where she was in The Firm and The Piano.
Nice.
And in The Firm, she plays like this, I wouldn't say a ditzy secretary or anything like that, but what would you call her? And what would you call her in The Firm?
She's kind of like a hard ass that does what she has to do. She's obviously very close to Gary Busey's character, but she also shows some chops, both like shows some balls when she contacts Ethan Hunt and gives him the thing, receives him the bag. But and she plans that whole thing later on. So I think she's just like I would say scrappy,
right? And in The Piano, she plays a deaf mother who is trying to buy her piano back by having sex with Harvey Keitel on the regular. But that's being reductive of The Piano. The Piano is a really good movie, but she's like every time she sleeps with Keitel, I think it's a number of keys that she gets back. And she won the Oscar for that. She was nominated for The Firm as well.
That's crazy. She doesn't have very much screen time at all in The Firm.
No, but it's clear, just like they did with Pacino in the previous year, they were really trying to get her an Oscar, and they decided to throw in that as a token. I don't know how that works. Like,
I love that performance, but that's a weird one to be nominated for.
It seems like there's probably more deserving people in the supporting actress category that, could have been nominated, but, it looked like people really loved them some Holly Hunter in 1993. But yeah, she won for The Piano. And, but yeah, those are two very, very different roles.
Didn't Harvey show his junk in that movie?
Only if we're lucky.
He was known for showing his junk quite a bit back then.
Is that right? Oh, he was in Bad Lieutenant. He showed it on.
Yeah. Bad Lieutenant, and I think even in the movie Fingers, maybe he did. I think he did. I think he did show his junk in The Piano.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Piano's a good movie. I haven't seen it since it.
I haven't seen it since it came out. Yeah.
I
don't remember it.
Okay.
Sam Neill is like some boring ass husband that she has, and Sam Neill that year, by the way, Jurassic Park and The Piano.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't remember. I remember it was extremely well reviewed, and I saw it, and I liked it. Okay, I was 16 watching The Piano.
Yeah, so you were
I was what I was all about. But maybe to revisit that someday.
I have the best answer, so I want to go last.
All right, I'm going to go with Jude Law in 2001, where he made a movie called Enemy at the Gates, which I'm not sure how many of you have seen.
I saw it, man. I don't remember nothing about
that. Russian sniper. I think it's World War I. I always get it wrong, so that probably means it's World War II. But he's basically a simple soldier who turns out is really good at sniping, and he ends up in this back and forth with Ed Harris, who's like this German sniper of lore. He's like a deity of snipers. And Jude Law's character is unsure of himself and has to think on his feet, and fellow soldiers and friends get killed right in front of him. But that same year, he makes AI, artificial intelligence, with Spielberg from Kubrick's development, and he plays this completely confident sex robot who has zero doubts about anything. And I just could not picture two more different types of people for a performer to go from one end of the spectrum to the other. So that was my answer. I also found it interesting how actors sometimes just don't work very often. Because like the first way I went about researching this was to search for my favorite actors or the best actors. And you search Leonardo DiCaprio, and he almost never makes 2 movies in a year. He basically takes a year or 2 off between every movie. So there's only a certain kind of actor that can even fulfill this qualification. But my answer is Jude Law.
DiCaprio does have one, and I think it was because I think it was Gangs of New York that got pushed back. But Gangs of New York and Catch Me If You Can came out the same year. And those are extremely different roles, but I think that's also one where one movie was getting pushed back a lot, and one was supposed to come out earlier.
I also just read yesterday that the bulk of the Catch Me If You Can story is fake.
I know. I saw that Frank
Abagnale just basically catfished everybody into thinking he'd done shit he didn't do. And the game show bought it, and the public lore bought it, and we made a movie about him. And
that's his best con of all, right?
Yeah, I mean, it shows that he has that ability then.
I guess. But a lot of the shit he did that the movie is based on, even in real life, a lot of the shit he was known for having done, he didn't actually do.
Yeah, but I mean, conning about conning is a nice end game, man. that's the long con. He's like in his 60s now. I guess. Here's the thing. I guess that's disappointing in some way, but like we knew that the movie Catch Me If You Can wasn't, even if it, even that movie wasn't 100% things that happened. You know, like we knew that there was, even that had been, I don't know, embellished in many ways or made up in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think it's just my lack of surprise. Anytime you hear about you see some amazing story and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? Usually it didn't.
Yeah.
All right. I have 3, but I'm going to go through them real quick. Because one I've talked about a bunch. Al Pacino in 1997, he plays the Devil, and he plays Lefty in Donnie Brasco. And man,
Lefty thought he was going to get whacked.
Oh, I shit my pants. Lefty is one of the most muted performances of his career, especially latter day stuff, and it's one of his best out of a million bests. If you haven't seen Donnie Brasco yet, we haven't talked about it in a little while. Watch it, and then I know you've heard me talk about The Devil's Advocate, but those are as polar opposites as you can get in 1997. A couple ones though that I found: Cameron Diaz did Shrek, the voice of Fiona, and Vanilla Sky in 2001. Those came out in the same year. When we say do things in the same year, obviously production is going to be going on at different times, especially when it comes to animation. But man, she's excellent in Vanilla Sky. I know she plays crazy and everything, but man, she also plays seductive. She also plays friendly. She also plays nonchalant. She's very, very good in Vanilla Sky. And her voice as Fiona is wonderful in Shrek. I don't love Shrek, but she was perfectly fine. And my last one is a recent one, and I cannot wait to see what this woman is going to do. Florence Pugh in 2019 was in a tremendous acting feat in Midsummer. But she was also in Fighting with My Family, with Jeremy just talked about recently, playing a completely different character. And she was in Little Women. Now, I find that impressive. I have not admittedly seen Little Women, though. I assume she's perfectly good in that.
You're not missing that much. She's good, but the movie underwhelms me. I'm not a fan of the structure, but the performances are great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny when, Jeremy, when brought up Jude Law, I bet there are years where he did 5 or 6 movies and everything like, you bring up Florence Pugh and I'm reminded of Tommy Lee Jones, who in 1994 he did some bad ones in here, but think about the range here. Blown Away, which was bad.
Where's Irish? He's the Irish one, right? Yeah, he's Irish.
He did the Client. He was in Blue Sky, which was an Orion film that had been in the can for like 6 years or something like that. So that's why he had 5 movies in 1994. And then he did Natural Born Killers, and he did Cobb. All in 1994. Wow. So yeah, I'm sure we can come up with some that did 4 or 5 varied performances over a year, and Tommy Lee Jones definitely has done that a couple times. So Samuel L. Jackson, I'm sure, has done that multiple times as well.
Yeah. Old Tommy Lee.
Oh yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter. Music Video Sins Twitter. We're on Discord and we're on SoundCloud. If you want to get on Discord, you can private message me on Facebook, and I can give you a link there. That's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Shear. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com. Did you see there's a resurgence in appreciation for Paris Hilton's album?
No.
Have you seen that?
No, thanks for that.
Pitchfork came out with a thing.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, appreciate
Pitchfork. Is Pitchfork giving it a 10?
They've become a satire of themselves.
They've become so ironic. Like, irony doesn't exist anymore in the hipster universe of Pitchfork, so they have to re-review Paris Hilton's album. It's an interesting article, actually. I'll send it to you. Obviously exploring the vapidity of Stars Are Blind in particular. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I've heard that song recently. I actually like that song unironically just because it's a good pop song. She had nothing to do with it. It's like an appropriation of like a meter song, I think, like some sort of reggae song. and it was. I knew I'd heard it recently, and it was in fucking Promising Young Woman when she and Bo Burnham are jamming out in like I think they're in a record store.
Promising Bo Burnham.
I am. My wife and I are planning on watching the new Bo Burnham special tonight.
I heard it's brilliant and crushing.
Oh, I didn't hear the second part. I've only heard good things. I haven't heard anything specific about it.
I keep seeing memes with two pictures, and the first picture is me running to watch the new Bo Burnham special, and it's somebody happy, and then it's like me after I watch it, and it's somebody like clutching the pillow and crying tears. So
I know that he has crippling anxiety. I don't know if he talked about that in this show. I'm going to watch that at some point too, because his shows are always special.
I've never, besides 8th Grade, and which obviously he's not in, and Promising Young Woman, I don't really know much about this guy. I've never seen one of his specials. I know he was one of the OG YouTubers, right? Like, is that
but
where
he very quickly elevated beyond that. Like, he went on tour very early and started doing comedy specials. Did you watch that country song that was in that thread like a week ago when Danae posted?
No, I got caught up on the one about the trucks in Santa Fe
good,
and the lake.
That song is a pretty good representation of his comedy. He does a lot of music in his stand-up. And that's from a special where he does like a rap song at one point. But it's usually pretty biting, kind of John Oliver-esque commentary on, real life and shit. He's special.
Is that his thing? Like, would you say he's more of a comedian or a musician or just like one of those Donald Glover type
I think
of
he
guys?
would. Film director. I think he's
excellent.
He's got it all.
8th Grade is great. Yeah. So he's just one of those multi-hyphenate, like, can do anything.
Yeah, he's Bo Jackson of like entertainment.
Hey, it's a
Only
Bo.
so far without the career-ending injury.
Yeah, his shows frequently just will, he'll be I don't know if he even does. I'm trying to remember some of the shows. Like, he never really seems to get into a stand-up rhythm. He always just kind of like things can change at a drop of a hat. Things become skits, one-man skits at some point. He does audience work, but it's participation, not like making fun of them or anything. But there's one pretty. I'm trying to remember. He gets at people to fill in the blanks on some words or whatever. And there's that one where it ends up being like a racial slur or whatever if you complete the sentence. But like,
is that I heard you talk about that. That was him.
Yeah, salt and vinegar chips. Yes, exactly.
I remember that. He does a call and response, and then he's like, I'm going to get you to say this. And they're like, no, right? Is that how it goes?
Who thinks like that? I just think that is brilliant. Django started playing on Showtime, I think, one of these fucking channels. And I tried to watch it the other day because I've only seen it like twice. I can't get through that movie, man. It's just maybe Quentin would say this is the point, but there are too many N-words, man. I can't enjoy any of what I'm watching. I'm just cringing every 5 seconds at everyone just throwing that word around like crazy.
Yeah, I had the same experience with 42 when Alan Tudyk is playing the Phillies manager and just keep saying it. And it's like, yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll ever really get it. So why are we trying to make it, like, you know what I mean? Like we'll never know what that actually feels like. So just throwing that word out there a million times isn't going to get me there. So, I don't know. Yeah.
And Django's that Tarantino at his most indulgent maybe ever, both with that and with that entire movie, like the length, the participation, the N-word, like just everything is way too
his
indulgent.
Acting.
I tell you what, we were my wife and I were watching Kill Bill Volume 1 last night, as I said, And maybe about 10 minutes in, she had never seen it. I'd only seen it. That's one that I've only seen probably once and a half or something like that.
Oh, my.
And we got to the wiggle your big toe thing. And my wife was like, man, it seems like he films Uma Thurman's feet a lot. And I was like, and I laughed, and I didn't mean to. And she was like, what are you laughing at? Like, she thought I was making fun of her. And I was like, no, I guess you didn't know. Like, that's his thing. And from that point on, we were like, count the feet. It was like Lucy Liu going across the table to chop that guy's head off. It was her taking off her shoes to do the thing, to do the final fight. It was like all these things. We were like, feet. It was like Katherine Heigl and Seth Rogen going like, boobs and bush.
Yeah. Isn't Kill Bill 1 the one with the fight with the 88s at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How does your wife deal with that level of violence? My wife would smack me if I showed her that movie.
It's, I mean, we were talking about that. It's so Looney Tunes to me. It's almost John Wickian, which we also watched fairly recently.
But those movies aren't as bloody.
They're arguably more violent. The John Wick movies are, but yes, you're right. They're not as bloody because you don't have the spray and stuff like that. But the spray, I think, is what makes it so cartoony. What does get me in Kill Bill Volume 1, and I think turns me off, is the Foley stuff, because the spray is funny, but like there's so much like like
Speaking of cartoon, when it goes to a cartoon for that super hyper violent flashback, that's the most disturbing thing in the whole fucking movie.
It is, but it also fucking rules. I got a new appreciation of this movie last night. I'm like you, man. Like I've never been hot on Volume 1, but I liked it like 30 times better this time for some reason. It just hit me differently. Chris, you like it, right?
Mm-hmm. I like everything Tarantino's ever done. I like everything that he's done, including Django, but I think Django is clearly his worst movie.
Yeah.
I do love that motorcycle drive, walking into the restaurant. That's good.
Yeah, which has been overused since.
Almost everything that he used in that movie has become commercial stuff. Yeah. And
same with Pulp Fiction.
Well, yeah, but even the 789s that are playing at the club. It's like yeah. But by the way, I noticed that I'm a dumbass, obviously, but like I never noticed that one shot that he does from the time that the bride jumps down from hanging up over the thing outside of Lucy Liu's thing. He follows her all the way down the stairs into the bathroom, then back up to where the French woman is getting out, and her journey all the way down to the bathroom. But they're at completely different angles. And that shot's fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah.
It's so brilliant. I love it. Oh, my God.
Every time I imagine, you just took me through this Kill Bill set that he's, doing this shot on or whatever. I always think about the clip from Inglourious Bastards where it shows him and, they've just gotten done with a scene and he goes, now we're going to do it again. Why is that? And everybody goes, because we love making movies.
And I'm thinking about that because Comcast can suck my big toe. Mm-hmm. That's right. I said it, Jeremy. I'm not scared of you.
I'm not Comcast.
You don't always have to agree with me when I say I'm a dumbass.
I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I didn't. Nobody heard anything.
Yeah, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody heard anything.
Only McCormick. Yeah.
I was Jai McCourtney.
Jai McCourtney. He's his Irish cousin.
Hardcastle and McCormick. A show I never saw, like Remington and Steele.
You never watched Remington Steele? I figured that would be right up your fucking alley.
A lot of these shows I know I saw, but I don't remember any episodes. I saw Remington Steele, but I didn't. I don't. You asked me what happened in Remington Steele. I don't know. Pierce Brosnan.
He was fine. He was fine back in those days.
That's it. I remember watching MacGyver over and over and over again, but I don't remember.
Really?
I remember him doing things to get out of situations, but I can't tell you anything about.
What I loved about MacGyver was that anytime he punched somebody, he would notify the viewer that it hurt.
Yes.
He'd be like,
yeah.
That was important.
Like,
that was important to both the character and I think the actor. He didn't use guns.
He didn't.
He was. If you punch somebody, it's going to hurt. You can't just go around punching people. That's not how it works. Our hand is not made of steel.
Have you watched the new one at all?
That's right.
The MacGyver? Yeah.
The new MacGyver? Fuck that. No, I mean, I like that actor okay in the X-Men movies, I think.
Who is he?
But no.
Is it Ray Park?
No, he's the...
Oh, is he the chesty guy?
He's the chesty guy.
Oh, chesty guy.
The famous X-Men chesty guy. I don't know what he's called.
Havoc.
He radiates that beam that... Havoc. That Professor X had to teach him how to focus his power.
But who's the actor?
I don't know. MacGyver.
Fuck.
Aaron
Sorry.
Taylor Jones.
I gotta look this up or else I'll be fucking tortured.
Aldrich Killian.
Jonathan Taylor Joy.
It starts. He's got an A in there somewhere. I swear to God.
Lucas Till?
Oh,
There's an A in Lucas.
There's an A in there, Lucas. Yeah, Lucas.
That sounds about right.
Grey's Anatomy is still on.
Right?
It's going into
Holy
like
shit.
season 65.
Right. It's been on since 1974.
I swear that show started in the 90s, man. I saw a headline the other day that said this show season 5 will be its last, and I was like, I thought it was its first season. Like, Jesus, that time fucking. At one point, he yells, "Tony Stark built this in a cave."
Yes, he does. It's crazy how Iron Man referred back to Tucker in A Man in His Dream. So awesome.
I've seen the car. I've seen the actual car that they use in the film.
I saw the car JFK was shot in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in Dallas?
No, it's in the Ford Museum in Detroit. They also have the chair that Lincoln was shot in. And man,
That'd be something.
it's fucking sobering to see that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like see the real shit.
Like Ford, like Henry Ford, or Ford like Gerald Ford, who's also
Henry Ford. But it's God, that museum's huge and famous. And it's got all kinds of cars and locomotives and.
Why do they have? They don't. Okay, hold on. They don't have the chair Lincoln was shot in that museum, right?
Yeah, they do.
It's
I wouldn't want to have two things that presidents were.
It's history,
executed.
man. I'm telling you, it's like it makes history palpable. It did for me. I've been there twice. You stand there and you look at it and you're like, holy shit! Like it's not just a story in a textbook of a man who was people talk about. That's the chair right fucking there. Pretty interesting.
That is wild. I was thinking that a Ford museum would be focused on the automobile.
No, it's the
And
Henry
Ford Focus.
Ford Museum of American Innovation.
I see.
So there's an airplane.
So it's just a museum.
Yeah, it's a big badass museum.
Yeah, that's tight. That's dank.
Tight.
Wait.
It slaps.
It slaps.
Dirty